Some of you may not be aware that the Danish have been voted happiest people in the world for 40 years. So this caught the attention of many parenting experts and therapists and teachers and such, wondering why are these people so happy? And the theory is that happy people raise happy children become happy adults, and so on and so on. And so the Danish continue to win the race for happiest country and happiest people. Now, I recently read a book called The Danish Way. It's a fabulous book that really breaks down Danish parenting and really dives into why are these people so happy, what is it that they're doing differently than other countries, what is it that they're doing that's the same as other countries. And they broke it down and they give us the tools that we can apply at home to raise our children to be happy, healthy, productive adults. They use an acronym called PARENT, which is very easy to remember. It's not always easy to remember what each of them stands for, though, so I'm going to break it down for you. The P stands for play, and I'm a little bit biased as a play therapist over the value of play, but of course I was very excited about that aspect being one of the main bullet points, so to speak, on the Danish parenting. Play is extremely important for children. Now, structured play doesn't necessarily count when you're talking about play from a parenting perspective. Play that is free play, free range, open-ended, using imagination, creativity, natural materials, and unstructured, so outside of a classroom environment, just free play is very valuable to a child. Play should not necessarily be work. For example, when you put down a piece of paper for a child and you give them a craft that maybe you've created an example for and you hand this to them and you tell them, okay, here's what we're going to do today, that doesn't count as play. If you sit down with your child and you play a game or a story, also that doesn't count as play. Play should not be intervened by an adult. Play should be child-led and child-centered. So if you go to a park, for example, and you just allow your child to climb and slide and swing, or perhaps you're at a park where there's just sticks and rocks and dirt, that's play. Play can also be at an indoor play space where there might be a lot of open-ended play materials, such as workbenches, kitchens, barns, art supplies, clay, crayons, mirrors, things like that. That could be play as well, as long as it is open-ended. So if you have a toy that if you push a button, something happens. If you move a lever, or maybe it's battery operated or technological, that's not really play, even though the child is enjoying it. So play has a lot of value in a child's life. Play is the way that children process their experiences. It's also the way that children learn about their world. So play should not be given any instructions or any rules or any guidance. Now, of course, there are some limits to be set. You don't want children throwing toys at one another or drawing all over the wall. I mean, that's a little bit too far on the opposite end of the spectrum, but you do want play to be open-ended and free so that the child feels uninhibited and free to explore their environment and learn about things. Play is also how children express themselves. And a rule of thumb in the play therapy room is to grant in fantasy what you can't grant in reality. A lot of parents will send me emails or call me and say, I'm a little bit worried about my child. They always want to play with guns and knives, and they seem to be killing, the animals, or they're killing the people in their dollhouse or whatever. Should I be worried? And the answer to that would be no. Grant in fantasy what you can't grant in reality means allow the child to explore that aspect of their personality without really making a big deal out of it or giving it too much energy. We all have an aggressive side, and it's okay for the child to be playing out that aggression. Perhaps they've seen it somewhere. Perhaps they just have these intense feelings that they really need to get out in a safe, comfortable environment, and that happens through play. So there's really nothing wrong with that. Only set limits when limits need to be set. Also be sure that when your child is playing that you're not turning the play into a lesson. That's what I mean by no adult intervention. So if a child is playing at the park and an adult walks up and they say, "What is this rock? Can you talk about this rock? What kind of rock is this?" Or, "Ooh, look at this leaf." Now, there's a place for that. Those are teachable moments. But when your child is just playing, it's really not a time for a lesson. It's not a time for what color is this, or how many do I have here? What sound does this animal make? Your child will learn those things naturally through play, through conversation, through observations of their world. But really just try to step back a little bit as a parent and allow play to be just that. It's just play. It's open-ended, right? The A in parent stands for authenticity. Now, this one is really, really crucial, and it's something that can be difficult to understand or difficult to apply because it really does require maturity on the part of the parent. Authenticity means that you as an adult are being authentic with your child, but also authentic in your day-to-day experiences with others and with your spouse. Now, I found this one very interesting because when I was working as a family therapist, I was always suggesting to parents to argue in front of their children. And of course, everyone knows, I don't fight in front of my child. I'm not saying fight, but it is important to argue, to discuss, to have a disagreement with your significant other or with a friend in a healthy way, right? But allowing your child to see that not everything is hunky-dory. Not everything has a happy ending. Sometimes people disagree, and that's okay. If something gets heated, it's okay to say, I'm feeling angry right now. I don't feel like you're listening. Think about how valuable it is for the child to observe those things coming from the adult in their life. And also to have someone on the other end say, well, that's not really what I intended. Here's what I meant to say. Those are great skills to model for your child. Another aspect of authenticity is also if you were to go to a Danish bookstore or a toy store or even watch some of their films, they're not all happily ever after. In fact, if you look at some of the toys, like my sister brought one home from Prague, from Eastern Europe, and it was the wolf from Little Red Riding Hood, and inside the wolf's belly was all of the things that he had eaten, all of the people that he had eaten. Now in America, you might have some parents go, oh my gosh, that's so morbid, that's disgusting, it's going to raise my child to be a violent, aggressive killer, ooh, which is not necessarily the case. The story of Little Red Riding Hood is that the wolf does gobble up Little Red Riding Hood and gobble up Grandma, and so on, and there is killing and there is death, and that is an aspect of life. It doesn't mean that your child is going to grow up to be an aggressive, violent killer. Fairy tales written by Grimm's are a little bit dark in nature. They do discuss death and sadness and some things like that in America, we kind of freak out about. But the Danish believe that that is being authentic. We do discuss real things. Not every story ends happily, just like every film does not end happily. And that does make a child feel safer in their environment, knowing that sometimes things don't work out. And it makes it easier for them to cope with life's disappointments and life's upsets as they get a little bit older. They're able to deal with things because the adults in their life have modeled how to deal with things in front of them, have not shielded them from negative experiences, because we're really doing a disservice to our children if we try to shield them from the fact that life can be hard, frustrating, sad. Sometimes we feel cold, we feel tired, we feel hungry. It's not our job as parents to always make sure that our child's needs are always being met. Sometimes it's okay to let them struggle a little bit with the upsets of day-to-day life, and they become happier, healthy, well-adjusted people that way. The R in parent stands for reframing. If you watched my video a little bit yesterday, I did talk about reframing because this covers various aspects of parenting. One is to reframe the way that you look at your child. So if you're upset about something that they've done today, try to reframe that and think, instead of being upset about their behavior today, I'm going to choose to focus on this as a learning opportunity and be excited about misbehavior because it is challenging my parenting skills and it is giving me an opportunity to teach my child something that is valuable and worthwhile. And also the Danish reframe their children's experiences. So if a child is running and they fall, instead of, oh no, are you okay? You fell, that must be so hard. You can be empathetic, but instead, wow, I saw you catch yourself. You put your elbows out and you caught yourself. You protected your face from falling. High five. Or they will reframe something like maybe your child is playing a sports game and they just didn't really work very hard that day or something. It's okay to reframe that and say, I know you're really sad about your performance, but did you notice that you ran faster today? Did you notice that when you kicked the ball, the goalie did have a hard time getting in the way? So kind of reframing their experiences to not focus so much on the negative, but onto the positive. I was walking through the park the other day with my boys, and I leaned them both over the bridge, and I said, what do you see down there? And as a parent, I wanted them to see the water, the leaves, the light reflecting off of the water. It was really a beautiful thing, and it was a beautiful day and a beautiful moment. But the person that I was with said trash. And I thought, oh no, don't focus on the trash. And that's what reframing is about. Think of that as a metaphor to explain reframing. It's all about focusing on the positive without protecting the child from the negative too much. I hope that that makes sense. The E in parent stands for empathy. And this was very interesting to me when I heard that empathy was mentioned, because in American parenting workshops and theories and everything, empathy is very key. In fact, empathy is the foundation for successful parenting based on love and logic. So I practice a lot of parenting the love and logic way, and that's what I began my career teaching, was love and logic. And Love and Logic did a little, the Institute did a little test with some parents when they first started, and they found out that 50% of the parents that were using Love and Logic said, Love and Logic is fantastic, we love it, it works across the board, can't believe we're ever using anything else. The other 50% were saying, this doesn't work, I don't even know what the deal is here, it's not working on my child. And so they said, well, that's not good, it's 50-50. But when they looked at it, the group that was saying that it wasn't working, what they were missing was empathy. Empathy is absolutely crucial. Without empathy, the techniques that you're using or the skills that you're using can sometimes come across as sarcastic or threatening or even bribes. But empathy maintains relationship. Empathy is the key in the therapy room. As a play therapist, it's key one-on-one individual counseling. It's key when working with adults. It's even key in your marriage. If you can't empathize with the person, that they're really not going to hear anything that you're saying. How often have you heard, you don't understand, you don't get it? No, you're not listening, okay? Empathy is what lets the other person know, I hear you, I see you, I understand, and most importantly, I care. Without those four things, you're not maintaining a relationship with your child, and that's when you get power struggles and unwinnable arguments. Empathy is very key. Your child comes home and they say, Mom, I had a horrible day. You're not going to go, well, what did you do? What happened? You see how that comes across? Judging, right? Immediately your child's going to go, never mind, you won't get it. However, the same child comes home and go, oh, I had an awful day. Oh, man. Oh, I hate awful days. Tell me all about it. Automatically, you are relating to this person, letting them know you're ready to hear, and you're not judging, because on your face you showed, I've been there. I get it. I hear you. I see you. I understand, and I care. Empathy is absolutely crucial to having success as a parent. With your child and maintaining a relationship. That's key above all else. N is no ultimatums. Now, this is really, really, really crucial, because I think this is something that a lot of American parents really struggle with. And I'm not trying to be, an expatriate or anti-patriot. What's the word I'm looking for? Anti-patriot or anything like that. But it is something that we struggle with here in America. It is very common for an American to say, if you do this, then I will do this. We also will count. Okay, you've got until I get to 3 before, blah, blah, blah is going to happen. Okay, that's 1, right? Have you heard the counting? The reason that that's very unsuccessful is because how high will a child let you get? You're going to go 1, 2, 3. They still don't really care. Okay, I told you 1, 2, 3, right? I counted to 3. They're going to take as many chances as you give them until something ultimately happens. So this technique basically says the very first time that a child does something that is inappropriate, you intervene. There's a consequence. There's a limit. Something is going to happen because the behavior that they engaged in was inappropriate. And we want our children to know that the very moment you just decide on something, the very moment you make a choice, you're committed to that choice and all of the consequences that come with it. No ultimatums believes that you are not threatening your child, you are not bribing your child, you are just simply guiding them and loving them through life. Another way that I've heard some adults' parents threaten is, if you don't stop doing that right now, blah, 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 blah. But they almost never follow through, okay? I remember when I was a teacher, I had all of my students line up, and this was the middle of the year. And they know that when they line up, they're supposed to be quiet. And if they're talking, they need to go to the end of the line, because we're supposed to be respectful to the rest of the students in the school. It's very important to be quiet in the hallways and be respectful. And so the student begins talking, and I said, please go to the back. And she said, what? You didn't even give me a warning. And I realized right then how sad that we are raising generations of children who think that they get a warning before something happens. Now, why is that sad? Because when they get older and they smoke a drug that someone gave them, or they take a pill, they swallow a pill, they do a beer bong or something like that, they are committed to whatever is going to happen next. They get into a car with someone that's driving drunk. They don't get a warning before they get into an accident. They don't get a warning before they get a DWI. A lot of dangerous activities that children engage in, They do because they think they're going to get another chance. And it's not a conscious thought. It's just something that we are training them for, that there's a warning, maybe 1, 2, 3 warnings before something actually happens. We're not going to say, if you get in the car with a drunk driver one more time, something's going to happen, right? So the N of parent stands for no ultimatums. It is just strictly, you do what's right because it feels right, because it serves yourself, because it serves others, because it serves a higher power, whatever your religion is, because it is the right thing to do, it is the right way to behave. That's no ultimatums. And the T is one of my favorites. This is for togetherness. And I think, again, this is something that we're lacking here, that our family units are not really as strong as they used to be. Perhaps we're not doing dinner all at the family table anymore. Perhaps we're not going to a religious service together on Sundays, which is totally fine, depending on what your religion is. But find another time that there is togetherness, that there is unity within the family unit. A lot of times I tell parents, one of the strongest things you can do for your child is that when you are setting a limit with them is to start your sentence with, in this family, blah, 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 blah. So when the child comes home and they've cheated on a test, you can say, oh, I know you really wanted to get a good grade, but in this family, we don't cheat. Now, the reason that it's important to say that when you're setting a limit is because it does provide cohesiveness. It makes the child feel connected to others that behave the same way that they do. Like, in this family, it's not okay to talk about people because of their skin color. That's just not something that we do. It makes them feel a sense of belonging rather than make it kind of a personal attack that they have misbehaved or engaged in some sort of disappointing behavior. I use that a lot of times as a teacher. I would say, this is a classroom that doesn't talk during assemblies, and you might see other kids running around, but we're not like that. We're not going to run around in circles. That's just not something that we do. And what it did is it really brought my classroom to be very cohesive and very connected with one another and hold each other accountable, because they would be embarrassed if the other one was running around. They're like, hey, we don't do that, okay? We stay seated. And then they're kind of working together as a unit to keep each other cohesive and behaving correctly. So I love the acronym PARENT. Again, I'm going to go over this for you. P is for play. A is for authenticity. R is for reframing. E is for empathy, N is for no ultimatums, and T is for togetherness. Find a way that you can just hang out with your family and be together and build that cohesiveness so that everybody kind of works as a team. A couple other things that the Danish do is they do look at toddlers differently. They look at teenagers differently. They really try to look at everything with a positive outlook without shielding everyone from the negative. I love that they describe toddlers as boundary pushers. I think that's a really beautiful way to view toddlerhood. They provide a lot of opportunities for positive experiences, for fantasy. They really engage a lot in creativity, imagination, building, sculpting, some of those Renaissance types things that we may have strayed away from a little bit in American culture. We do focus a lot on technology. And in the Danish schools, you will not see a ton of technology. It's definitely not pushed the way that it is here because the Danish really focus a lot on brain development rather than content development and on skills. And so when you are allowing your child to engage in rich, creative, sensory experiences that might be tactile, that might be visual or auditory, even oral, we are building the brain development. If you think about an infant or a toddler, actually, especially an infant, they are born with more neurons than galaxies in the sky. And when we ignite different parts of the brain becomes stronger and stronger, and we're really using the highest potential that we can, versus when we focus on content and we say, here is a pig, and the pig says, oink. That's it. We're limiting it. We're saying that we're just only igniting that one simple part of the brain. A preschool that engages with modern clay and kinetic sand, glitter, paint, building, singing, musical instruments and things like that, climbing, and use all aspects of the senses, all aspects of the brain. That child's brain in that sort of environment is going to be much more stronger and engaged and much able to do some problem solving and higher order thinking as they go on later in life, rather than just that content development that really does limit to one specific piece of the brain. So that's something else powerful that the Danish do. I would really encourage you to dive deeper into the Danish way. There's lots of blogs on it. There's even a website for it. I love the audiobook, and I read the book and reference the book regularly to remind me what it is that I should be doing with my children. And I think it really helps you to stay calm as a parent and to enjoy parenting, because the focus of the Danish way is to remain positive and see things in a positive light. You can follow me on thatgirlwithwholeheart.com. I greatly appreciate you purchasing this video today, and I hope that you will continue to follow me on Facebook and Instagram under That Girl with Whole Heart. And I do have a membership website coming soon. I'd like for you to join that as well, with a monthly newsletter, and I'll be updating videos and workshops often to continue our learning and growing together as positive parents. Thank you so much.